Thank you very much, Abdullah, Vice Chancellor, Sir, Mrs. Samdani, and Zafar Mahfouz Nomani, and other colleagues of mine. I can also see Muhibbul Haq. There is a network issue at India International Center, so I think my video is not reaching you. But it gives me indeed immense pleasure to say a few things about Shakeel Bhai. So my relationship with Shakeel Samdani Sahab is an old one. I joined law department in 1990 and Shakeel Bhai joined in 1991. And I used to say it that I was appointed because my supervisor, Professor Zakaria Siddiqui, was the dean of the Faculty of Law. And the other person who was appointed in 1991 along with Shakeel Samdani was Javed Talib, in whom Rekhi Saab was interested. And then Zubair Bhai was appointed, in whom Rekhi Saab was interested. I was appointed for the second time, and in me Zakaria Saab was interested. So I used to say that Shakeel Bhai, you are the only one who was appointed in whom nobody was interested, and therefore I would say you were appointed on merit. And he used to have a big laugh at it. And thereafter we had a very close relationship till his death. Last time when he was alive, in February, when I went to law faculty, immediately he was not in the faculty, but immediately as soon as he came to know that I'm in the faculty, he rushed and took me around, and then had many pictures taken. So Shakeel Bhai had a versatile personality. He was an extremely popular speaker. I think in terms of reach in the masses, nobody in Faculty of Law can come near Shakeel Samdani Sahab. He was very close to many political parties and was in huge demand during elections, used to address big election rallies. He came to Hyderabad to address the Muslim Personal Law Board meeting. And when I said, why you are not coming to meet me? He said, no, I am having my flight and you have to come over. So I went to meet him and we had a long conversation over coffee. And thereafter, another long conversation once our coffee was over outside his hotel. So I have great memories of Shakeel Bhai. We traveled together for a conference in Jammu. In fact, we stayed in the same room. And Shakeel Bhai was very keen about human rights. But his conception of human rights and my conception of human rights were at variance. For me, anyone who believes in human rights has to concede that these rights are available to every human being without any qualifications attached to them. So one may be follower of X religion or Y religion. One may be having a different sexual orientation. One may be a terrorist, but entitled to certain basic human rights, because I believe, trained in Western human rights tradition, that these rights are indivisible and these are inalienable and these are natural rights or basic rights, and these rights are not the concession given by any state. Therefore, whether you have a constitution or you do not have a constitution, you would continue to have those rights. And that is why in 1905, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, when he said, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it, we had no constitution. There was no right of self-determination at that point of time. So constitutions merely recognize what is already there. Shakeel Bhai was a great believer in Islamic concept of human rights. An Islamic concept of human rights and the Western concept of human rights on various points don't see eye to eye. So there is huge divergence in terms of individual, in terms of content of rights, in terms of limitations which can be put on those rights. I have seen in the book Mohibul Haq had written the Marxist concept of minority rights. So Asim Siddiqui Saab has also written a very good paper for this book, and the introduction done by Shakeel Bhai himself is highly impressive. So I'm sure that the book would be useful if we can have our commitment to human rights, and if we are willing to make some sacrifices for human rights, because human rights without activism have no meaning. And we should also be able to understand that this whole business of first generation rights and second generation rights and third generation rights are absolutely bogus. The liberal West told us that you have liberty but don't talk of food. And the socialist East talked of food and said, since you have food, don't demand liberty. I think we need both liberty as well as food. And therefore, right to food and right to environment are extremely important. In the difficult times and very challenging times in which we live today, where all kinds of statements provoking people to indulge in violence or even in genocide are made, I think we need to renew our commitment to human rights, renew our commitment to the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution, and we need to go back to the liberty of thought, belief, faith, and worship. I think the preamble of Indian Constitution, by emphasizing liberty and by emphasizing equality of opportunity and equality of status, and the Indian Constitution by talking about fraternity, I think we have not talked about enough about fraternity. We have been talking about secularism, we have been talking about democracy, talking about justice, social and economic, and reservation policies, but have not bothered how we will have better inter-community relationships. How can we have better interfaith relationship? I think Indians are essentially religious, and Indians have very strong religious affiliations. And therefore, unless there is peace between religions and within religions, we will not be able to achieve fraternity. The kind of violence you see in Pakistan unleashed by Sipahe Sahaba against the Shias, or the kind of violence at times you see in Pakistan and Afghanistan, where people of a different Islamic sect are shot dead in the mosque. I think not only we need to have peace between religions, we need to have peace within religions. And we can achieve peace within religions if we can really take religion out of public square. I believe the greatest challenge India is facing today, that religion is all over. I think let this religion go to the private sphere. In fact, there was a suggestion when Article 25 of Indian Constitution was debated that we should insert that you will have right to profess, practice, and propagate your religion privately. There was a suggestion that this word privately should be there, but that privately is not there. And that privately word is not there. That's why on our public streets, all the time we see demonstration of religiosity. There is a huge increase in religiosity in India, but this religiosity is absolutely devoid of spirituality. We do not have spirituality. If people of one religion are called upon to eliminate people of another religions, we are not talking of coexistence. We are going against the fundamental duty of abjuring violence and having compassion for all living creatures. There is so much of emphasis today on fundamental duties, but those who are committed to civil liberties and those who are committed to human rights, they don't believe in classical Austinian relationship that rights and duties are correlative and there is no right without a duty or a duty without a right, as there cannot be a father without a son or a wife without a husband. The Indian Constitution does not believe in this kind of relationship between rights and duties. And that is why, like other libertarian constitutions, we did not have a chapter on fundamental duties. The chapter on fundamental duties came in during emergency through the 42nd Amendment. And even at the peak of her authoritarian rule, Mrs. Gandhi could not have the courage to include fundamental duties in Part 3 of the Constitution. Even during emergency, even during, even under 42nd Amendment, fundamental duties could come only in the directive principles chapter and therefore are non-justiciable. They are not justiciable like fundamental rights. So I believe that legally speaking, you can have rights without doing your duties, but it is not good. Ideally, we should also consider duties, and ideally, we should also try to take up responsibility, particularly our responsibility towards our nation. If we want to make our nation great, as Mahatma Gandhi ji rightly said, if everyone starts doing his duty, there would be no one demanding rights. But this is not the idea which Indian Constitution has incorporated. Lately, our Supreme Court has been saying that fundamental rights and directive principles, they both are to be given harmonious construction. They both are to be implemented, and no one should be given superiority over the other, even though technically speaking, fundamental rights are superior to directive principles and fundamental duties. I am sure that the small book, an edited one, where you have some very interesting articles by some very eminent scholars, would fill the gap and will revive the scholarly debate about human rights. Because if democracy is in danger, or if authoritarianism is on rise, then talk about rights and talk about liberties are important. And I think we are at that stage of our life where globally democracies are turning authoritarian. Today we do not have a danger from bullet. You do not see military coups anymore. What you have is the danger from ballot. And therefore we need to exercise our ballot with lot of consideration, with lot of reflection. We should elect the best people who will rule over us, who will make India great. And I am sure that in the 75th year of India's independence, our commitment to fundamental rights, which was there in the objective resolution moved by Pandit Nehru, and our commitment to basic human rights, which are mentioned in the Constitution and which have been expanded by the Supreme Court. Article 21 talk of right to life and personal liberty, but Supreme Court has expanded it so much that as many as 21 or 24 new rights have been read into right to life and personal liberty. So I am sure that the book would definitely initiate a scholarly debate. In young Abdullah Samdani, I see another young scholar coming up, and I am sure that he will carry forward the rich legacy of his father. Thank you very much.